Hello, my friend. Happy 2025. My goodness, can you believe it's the new year? And I am dressed all festive for it if you are watching this podcast on my YouTube channel. Super excited for the new year. I don't know about you, but when I look around in the new year and I see people going after goals, trying to up-level their health, trying to up-level their habits, I just get so excited. I'm like, you are my people. I love it. I get so invigorated when I see everybody doing all these healthy things. They're out walking, they're out running, they're joining gyms. The classes that I go to at the gym are super crowded, and I just love that new, fresh enthusiasm from everybody. So I hope you are enjoying that, and I hope that is motivating you. What I want to talk about on this podcast is really how to help you make 2025 the best year yet. I love helping women up-level their habits, up-level their health, and really getting to those goals that we want. And with that, most people do set New Year's resolutions. And I want to just talk about that a little bit before we get into the two really major areas that I want to encourage you to work on that are going to set you up for an amazing, epic 2025. So when it comes to New Year's resolutions, we know a lot of people set them, and very small percentage of people actually follow through on them. And so when we look at resolutions, what are they? You know, if you think about them, it could be starting a side hustle. It could be learning a new language. For a lot of women, it could be losing weight, or gosh, I got to get back to my healthy ways of being after all the overindulgence I did in the last month. And if you hear that, just realize that those resolutions, they're great, nothing against them, but they're goals. They're goals. And it's great to have a goal. But the thing that we don't find when we have New Year's resolutions is that we don't have the process. And what it misses is a key part, and that's the part I help a lot of women with, is really focusing and working on their habits, right? We really want to focus on the process, move the needle on the habits that makes the goal inevitable, right? So the habits are not resolutions. Resolutions are the goal, right? Your habits are what you're doing and the actions that you are taking. So when you're thinking about this year, I want you to really think about, okay, what are the habits I'll be working on? And when you're saying that, you're thinking, what will I be doing that eventually become on repeat? That eventually I will just do automatically without even thinking about it. Right? Like when I think about myself, right? I remember being the woman who overdrank, and she would just overdrink. And now I am the woman who lives a drink less lifestyle. I drink less. Now, compared to somebody who never drank in their life or never had a major drinking problem, right? Maybe I drink more than them. But compared to where I used to be, I'm a woman who leads a drink less lifestyle. I rarely want it now, which is amazing compared to where I used to be. But you see what I'm saying in that phrase? I am a woman who drinks less. My action is I drink less, right? So that's the action I'm taking. If I want to get fit and strong, right? I would be a woman that works out or that does certain exercises that make me fit and strong. And so depending on your resolution or your goal, it's going to inform the habit or habits that you need to adopt. And when you're thinking about those habits, again, it's those actions. What are the actions you are committed to? Now, here's where a lot of women go wrong. They will put on their action as an item on their to-do list. And I don't like doing that because your to-do list oftentimes includes a lot of extra things that may or may not be important in terms of priority. When you focus on action items, and I like to call these power moves. So if you're in Epic U, we call these power moves all the time. It's those power moves, those things that are high priority. You know that they're high priority. They're not the same thing as a to-do list. They don't rank the same as picking up your dry cleaning, right? Like that picking up your dry cleaning might not be urgent. For most of us, we have tons of clothes in our closet. Many of them, they're not even worn. We just keep wearing the same few. So picking up the dry cleaning is more optional. Now, these are habits, right? And to picking up dry cleaning is not like a habit. That's something you like need to do, a task, an errand. That is much different than a habit. A habit is something that you don't even need to think about. You kind of just do. Like I'm in the habit of driving a car, right? I just know how to operate my car when I get in it, right? You have the habit of driving to the grocery store. You might not even be aware all the time that you're driving there. You might be like, wow, I got here. What route did I take? Or did I stop at that stop sign back there? It's so habituated that you don't have to consciously think about it. And so when you're looking at changing some of the bad habits that we have and into morphing them into good habits, right? It's being consciously aware at first to be able to change them until they become the new way of being, until it's just easy to operate that way. And remember, habits shape who we are and who we become. So that's why it's really important to do a habit inventory. Like, how is your drinking? How is your health? How is your weight? What areas of your health do you want to improve? Because if we're not doing the habits today, we can't expect to get a new future if we're going to continue to engage in habitual cycles over and over again, because then we will stay who we are today rather than grow and learn and evolve. So habits shape who we are and who we become. I think that's really important. So when we are talking about breaking bad habits, I just want to review the 4 common bad habits that most people report. And those are eating too much. And sometimes we eat too much because we are selecting foods that aren't really nutritious. They just taste good. And so when our cells don't get the nutrients and the proper nutrition, guess what our cells tell us to do? Eat more, eat more. They send signals, right? Those hunger cues keep coming. Like, you're still hungry, you're still hungry. You need more Pringles because that amount of Pringles didn't satisfy. Well, it can't. It doesn't have the nutrients and the building blocks for cells, right? Cells need phytonutrients, and they need protein, and they need, certain amount of nutrients that come from our food. And if we're selecting foods that can't provide that, of course, we're going to continue to feel hungry. So sometimes it's not just that we're overeating or eating too much. It's the type of food that leads us and lends us to overeat. Another bad habit that a lot of people report is over drinking or drinking too much. And we know that there's a lot of reasons why people do that. And I've talked about that insanely on this podcast. Smoking is another one. And then other types of drug misuse and abuse. So that could be opioids, that could be cocaine, that could be just other types of drugs outside of alcohol that people misuse and abuse. So those are the common habits. So that's what a lot of times coming into a new year, people are like, I want a different relationship with food. I want a different relationship with exercise. I want a different relationship around alcohol. I want a different relationship so that I can be healthier and happier. And so what works when it comes to habit change? Now, I talked about this a lot on the podcast in the past as well, but what works best for habit change is that taking small, slow, steady changes over time is what makes a habit stick. And I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the last time maybe you've tried adjusting or modifying a habit. I know for myself, I'll use a personal example. In the past, when I would want to lose 10 pounds in the beginning of the year, right? Start off super healthy, get in this fitness routine, get in a good eating habit, cut back on the drinking, so you hear all of the things I want to change, right? 3 different areas. And of course, I plan out chicken and broccoli dinners and boring meals and thinking I can't have, any of the fun stuff. I cut out all the alcohol for January. And then I'm envisioning that I'm going to follow this exercise plan that has me at the gym 5 days a week. Now, coming off of December in the past, I might have overdrank most nights, probably 20, 25 of those nights out of 30, 31. I probably was eating crappy the whole time and I wasn't exercising. And then do you see what I tried to do all at once, all in 1 month? I tried to completely 180 that. by saying, I'm going to go to the gym like 5 days a week, right? No alcohol and boring meals. So I would stick to that plan for about 2 to 3 weeks and then burn out. Now, how many of you tried to do that, right? You rip off the Band-Aid, you're going like, I'm going all in. I'm changing all my habits, all my behaviors all at once. And we may be able to follow through for a week, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. And then what happens? It's boring. It's hard. We're sore. We don't like the food. We don't feel good about ourselves. We're miserable because we did too many things all at once. And therefore, it's not sustainable. And if you think about most resolutions, right, they say what, only 4% of people are actually still continuing to pursue their New Year's resolutions into February. Most people have fallen off the bandwagon by the end of January. And that's because we think we need to change all these habits all at once, and we go big or we go home. And most of us go big and then go home, right? It's like we've given up. So what the research shows, though, what makes it sustainable is slow, steady, and consistent, right? Small, slow, and steady is what's going to lead to long-term change. And if you know about my journey of drinking less, it took a while to get here. I'm not saying it has to take that long for everybody, but it does take a while. And so I'm reminded constantly of when people say, oh, I slipped up, or I had a setback, or I overdid it. And they do that like 1 or 2 times, and then they just want to throw in the towel. I just want to caution you about that. And we talked about in a recent podcast about changing that relationship to failure, because it's not failure. It's part of the journey. The journey is not a straight line from A to B. Right? The journey is a bit of ups and downs and a bit of a roller coaster. It requires learning. If it was so easy, my friend, you would have done it by now. And so having somebody with you, having support with you, being around others who have been there and can help you when you feel you're so down on yourself. When you feel like giving up, you can talk to a friend, you can reach out to a coach, or you can have people in your circle that are going to build you up when times get hard. And redefining that relationship with failure. Failure will be part of the journey, and it's only information, right? It's only information. Grab the learning, get back up, and keep going. So what works for habit change, a lot of us want to think, oh, I can do it all in one day. I can do it all in 1 month. And I've shared my journey of doing many dry Januaries and only coming to February going, WTF, what happened? Why am I back here at this same amount of drinking when I went the whole month without it? It was because I was just focused on the alcohol and I planned for short-term success. I had no plan on how to change my habit come February. I had no plan. So what did my brain do? Without a plan? Boom, we're going to go right back to our old patterns. So when it comes to habit change, my friends, that part of this process is about setting a plan and putting in your power moves. What will those moves be? It sounds simple, but yet carrying it out requires certain skills. And so I love helping you with that so that you can plan it and then live it. And changing a habit does take time. So I love it when I take a break. I love it when I hear people taking a break from alcohol, but I also want them to have a long-term strategy. What is the long-term plan, right? Are you going to be the one that just goes back to drinking as much as you normally did? Because that's what will happen unless you have a habit changing plan, right? Not just a month, not just taking a break for 30 days, but actually a lifestyle plan, a lifelong plan, which is why I called my program and my initial podcast, Drink Less Lifestyle. I want to set you up for the rest of your life so that you drink less. So it's not this on the wagon, off the wagon, on the wagon, off the wagon. When I choose to drink, I don't say I'm on the wagon. When I'm taking a break from alcohol, I don't say I'm off the wagon. I am on my plan, right? I am following the habits that keep me from over drinking and keep me from wanting to daily drink. And I had to define what those were for me, right? And that took trial and error. That means the error was the failure. I had to learn from that to say, oh, that doesn't work for me and my brain and where I'm at in my journey. And that's what I help you do, right? Figure that out for you. Because listen, I could tell you the ins and outs of my journey, and I've done a lot of that, but you're going to have your own journey to tune into. And having somebody alongside of you point out those learnings is so helpful, because a lot of times I'll work with women and they just want to berate themselves. They just want to slide it under the rug, not talk about it, just berate themselves and say, it's not going to happen again. Whoops, whoops. It's like, wait, no, it could happen again. Let's find out what happened so that your brain is prepared for the next time, because there will be a next time you'll be around alcohol. Unless you plan to live in a bubble, alcohol is widely prevalent. And so I do want you to go all in on changes, but not too many changes where you're overwhelmed and then you just throw in the towel. I don't want us to get there again, because then guess what? Some of us wait till 2026 to start over again. And it's like, wait, we don't have to wait that long. We can just say, okay, maybe those was too many changes all at once. Let me focus on one area, get really good at it. I remember working with a lady and she was so lovely. She just wanted to get good at one thing. And the one thing for her was making that drink plan. She's like, if I get good at this one thing, then help me with the other things, right? And so we got one thing, and then we discovered that actually that wasn't the one thing that she needed the most help on. We discovered it was something else. And she was like blown away, because she had the Reframe app and she was doing that app when she found me. And then she's like, why is not this working? I just want my drink plan and I just want it to follow pristine. I'm so good with plans. I follow through on all my work commitments. I follow through on all my kid commitments. I follow through on all the dentist appointments and my health commitments and my car appointments. And so she's like, why with the Reframe app, it's not working? I'm not following. You got to teach me this drink plan. I keep failing. And so I said, okay, we'll start there and we will see what comes up. And sure enough, when the drink plan wasn't followed and what came up, we worked on. It was very specific to her. And once we got a handle on that, she's like, oh my goodness, it was so not about the drink plan. And here I was trying for months on my own and with this app, and it just wasn't working. I kept failing. And I'm so excited now to know it's not what I thought it was. It was something different, and now I've conquered it. I have to tell you, that is so relieving, because I know the heavy weight she carried. I know the amount of self-criticism and judgment and how she would just cry over this because it was so important to change her drinking. And she was a therapist, and she's like, I don't feel like I can help people in this area until I conquer it myself. And that is really heavy when we take our personal problems into our professional life, and then it affects how we view ourselves professionally. And so she was freed after this, and it felt like, she's like, I not only have joy back in my personal life, but I actually have joy and more confidence back in my professional life. Huge and very much changing for her. So it was slowing down. It was looking at one part of the process, really getting that dialed in. And then the rest started coming easier and easier and easier to where she can control her drinking. It was amazing. This is the way we get, right? We think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to lose the weight. I haven't been able to lose the weight. And some of my friends and people in my life say they give up. They just give up because it's never coming off. And that's where we're going to get into very soon. Here is the next part. But before we do that, I just want to mention a quote that I really enjoy. And that is, we become what we repeatedly do. And I want you to hear that word do, right? We can have all the high aspirations. We can have the best goals. We can feel motivated, and we know that that's fleeting. But it really comes down to what we do. What we habitually do is who we become. When I saw myself drinking every night, I'm like, wow, I am an overdrinker. I hated calling myself that. I hated thinking of myself like that. I hated feeling tied to something that I didn't want to be tied to. It was a label that just hit me in the gut. And I'm like, how can I stop being this way? And it's like, oh, it's not just the way I'm being, it's also what I'm choosing to do. And so you become what you repeatedly do. Also, your habits determine your future, right? So it's not just that I was upset with the woman I was today, but if I didn't change that habit, goodness, who would I become? What would my future look like 5 years down the road? Would I be so bombed at and drunk at my daughter's wedding? Would I be an embarrassment to the family? Like in my health, and where was all that going if I continued with this habit? Because if our habits determine our future, I needed to really clean this up in the moment because I wanted a different future than what my current situation was creating. So said another way, you cannot change your future if you don't change your current habits. So it's really nice to have goals, my friend. Really great. I'm not against goals. I love goals. I love setting goals. But that's just a tiny, maybe 1% part of the process. The bigger part of the process is what are the habits that are going to change and what are the habits that I need to adopt to get to that goal. And that's what you focus on, the habits that you will be doing. And this is different than a to-do list, right? A to-do list is like groceries and all the things. No, this is who you are on the daily and how you're changing and changing and changing and not regressing. Yes, we might regress here, we might regress there to get the learning, but we keep making progress. And again, it's not a straight line, right? If we expect a straight line, we're expecting perfectionism, and that will definitely kick us in the pants and keep us down longer than we need to. So focus on your habits. That is going to propel you to have an amazing and epic 2025. The second area that is huge, besides habits, besides what we do, and what we do today is who we become tomorrow and in the future, the second big thing is your mindset. I can't overstate the mindset piece enough, right? When we even look at your thoughts become your actions, right? So how you think, your mindset becomes your actions, the things you do, and your actions become your character. Your character determines your destiny or your future. So in the first part, we talked about our habits today that we do become who we are in the future. And even to take it one step before that, it's our mindset that gets us to change our habits, that gets us to have a different and brighter future. So mindset, hugely important, hugely important. When you think about the statistics, and maybe you know this statistic, but of those people who have a problem with alcohol, so this is not just full-blown alcoholics. These are people, who are overdrinkers, habitual drinkers, misuse, slight abuse, major abuse, right? Anybody who has an issue as a heavy drinker. How many of those people actually reach out and get help? Very small percentage. It's less than 10%. I think it's around the 3 or 4% mark. It's less than 10%. Why? Mindset for a lot of it. Now, there are a number of reasons. Shame is a big one, which shame comes from the way you think about it, right? That's your mindset. Your mind creates shame. I don't look at people with shame if they have an alcohol problem. I understand that's how they might view themselves if they have one. That's how I viewed myself for a long time. But now I don't look back and see that. I see that I was just having a challenge and I didn't understand how to cope, and I needed different ways to handle certain things and learn things and unlearn some things so that I can be more epic, so that I could change, so that I can have better health and a better future. And so when we look at that number, it's staggeringly low. And I know a lot of people think once they have this problem, it's genetic. I can't do anything about it. It came from my dad. It came from my mom. It's part of the family. It's just me. It's just me. It's just what I do. I can't change it. But we know that that's not the truth. We know, we don't even have a proof that it's genetic. We see that it may run in a hereditary kind of problem, but we don't have a gene that we said, oh, you've got that gene, you must become, yeah, you're going to be an alcoholic, right? It's not conclusive, right? There's correlation, but not causation. And so knowing that, we know that people can change, but they have to want to change. And where does the want come from? Knowing that there's a possibility that they can't. When your mind is open to change, when your mind is willing to see things differently, don't you find that the universe starts talking to you differently? Like they had that famous saying that says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. It's so true. How many women have called me? It's like, oh my gosh, I've been really praying and I've been thinking about how to work with somebody, but I want to do it confidentially and I don't want to go to AA or, one of these programs, and I want to do it on my terms and la, la, la. And then I found your podcast, or somebody told me about your podcast, or I stumbled upon your website and oh my gosh, I found you. It's like once I was ready to make the change, you appeared. And I'm sure other people get that all the time, right? Once I was ready to make a change in this area, this happened in my life. Once I decided what type of job I want or whatever, boom, an opportunity came my way and I was employed, right? We see this all the time when the mind is open. Wow. It's like the universe conspires for our benefit when we are willing to move in that positive direction. They call this law of manifestation, right? Or law of attraction, right? Any of that. But it really is about you opening up a mindset that's open to change. And then all of a sudden you start finding ways to make that happen. And here's a quote I love too. Winners find ways. I like to think I have a winning mindset. I want to find ways to win at what's most important to me. I want to win at my health. I want to win at my life. I want to win at my marriage. I want to win at parenting, right? And not win versus like, it's me and nobody else. It's like, I want us all to win. I want us all to figure out how best to navigate our relationships, how to best navigate the relationship you want to have with alcohol, right? I know the one I want to have with alcohol, and I'm very clear on that. My friends know it. People who don't know me, you know it, right? Like people know where I stand with alcohol. And I think that's wonderful. People know where I stand with my relationship with my husband, right? Like these things that are important to me, I want to wear it on my sleeve and on my outside, right? So you know what I stand for. It's important to me. And when have that winner's mindset, winners find ways, it's not that, you're better than anybody else. It's that, oh, I'm going to keep seeking and finding so I can discover my path to get what I want, right? And that means something you may try and it doesn't work. Well, then you pivot. And then you may have to pivot again. And then you're like, oh, well, I'll take this part that worked, but I'm going to leave that part behind because that doesn't seem to be working for me right now. And so I'm just going to put that to the side and I'm going to work on these pieces that are really working for me. And this is what I'm helping women do inside of Epic You. We are designing our Epic 2025 this month. We are really dialing in those habits that we want to change, right? And it's not to say that the habit needs to be consistent. I'm not going to be drinking in January. I'm not going to be drinking in February. But there's going to be a point in my year where I'm going to have an alcoholic drink, right? And doesn't have to be super defined where I am right now in my journey, but I can have like, okay, it's going to happen around here and this is what it's going to look like. And so building those habits now so I can continue to be successful. Because if we're not conscious about changing a habit that isn't going the way we want to, then we're just going to keep defaulting back to that habit. And we're going to keep being disappointed. We need a new mindset, a new plan, and to create a new habit that eventually will become automatic and be part of our life. So in designing your Epic 2025 and you want to join the discussion, feel free to come join us in Epic You. It is my monthly membership for women only. for women only. Sorry, men, but it's my membership for women only. You can join for a month. You could try it out, see how it is. If you don't like it, you can exit, no questions asked. If you love it and you're finding benefit, you can stay longer. And it really is a collective community. And I'll be asking a few questions in there that I want to run by you in this episode. So take out a pen and paper if you're not driving or walking, or put this on pause or bookmark this podcast so you could come back to these questions, because I want to help you have the most epic 2025 for your health and your happiness. And what I see for a lot of women is they don't have a good relationship with alcohol. It's not where they want it to be. Or they don't have a good relationship with food and the things that help them lose weight and keep it off. And I really see this in women who are in that perimenopause to menopause phase. I will tell you, your weight fluctuates right before that, and it's much easier to get the weight on and off in our early years. But man, it can become a bear for women above 50. And so I really want to help you get those pounds off if you really want to learn the habits. There's not just one, but those habits that are going to transform your health and your waistline. And I teach all of those inside Transform in 10. We will be starting our calls next week, so please come join us. We are going to start right off at week 1 again, and we are going to be really implementing small, steady, slow changes. We take it slow, ladies. This is why it's over 10 weeks. We take it slow so that you are building the habit. Not only that, you're understanding why you're doing it, right? I just don't want to give a prescription. Like I've done that as a pharmacist, prescription. No, this is about you finding what works for you and working on small habit changes over time. That's what's going to stick. Okay, so the 3 questions that we're going to be diving into, plus more when we are designing our epic 2025. First question, you ready? If you had a magic wand and anything was possible for you, anything, what 1 to 3 things would you want to change in your life right now? List 1, list 2, or list 3. And I recommend no more than 3 because the brain will get totally overwhelmed. And I love when they're ranked, right? So if you got 3, pick your top 1. So if you had a magic wand, what 1, 2, or 3 things would you change in your life for this year and right now? Number 2, how bad do you want those changes to occur? So if you only put 1 item down, how bad do you want it to change? 0 would mean, yeah, I'm not really caring if it changes or not. Yeah, I'd like my drinking to change, but I don't really care. Or all the way up to a 10. I really want it to change so bad. So bad. So rank it for each of the items that you listed. So the things that you want to change, how bad do you want them to change on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the most? And then how soon do you want to achieve those goals? Number 1, yesterday or right now. Number 2, eventually. Or number 3, I'm not sure I want to change. It's a different way of asking question number 2, and it gives us more information. So ladies, I'm using this information for all the women inside of Epic You because you know what this tells me? How best to coach them, how best to help them. It helps me to see what they are truly wanting and where they are not believing in themselves and what timeline they are anticipating. This helps create a plan. The plan is part of step 1, the habit, right? The habit is the plan, right? What action items, what power moves need to happen. So if you are in Epic You, I will be asking you these questions. We will be working on them for this month. If you're not in Epic You and you want to be working on this, just know that, right, this information right here is so valuable. This is telling you what you really want for this year to manifest and for it to occur, and how motivated and how committed you are to showing up to do this. And my friends, I really want to help you if you are serious about making change. I love action takers. I love results-oriented women where we are in community with one another and working together to get your goals and make them a reality. And make them a reality for life, right? Not a one-time change, but like a lifestyle change, a commitment to change so that you can benefit not just now, but years from now. You can look back and say, dang, that was the best investment ever. I went all in, I committed, and look what I achieved. It's a beautiful thing. I love that I have completely changed my relationship with alcohol. I love to inspire others to change their relationship with alcohol and work with them if that's what they are wanting to do. Dropping weight, same thing. In Transform in 10, oh my gosh, the ladies that have been through that program have lost weight, have changed their body composition. Some of them tell me they feel sexy again. Like, that is huge. That is huge. And they are maintaining it. It's not just one and done and then, oops, up, it's back on again. That cycle is what wears us down. And so if you're really wanting to drop some weight and really feel good in your body, get it healthy, right? We don't just talk about numbers on a scale. That is not my jam. It is about health metrics. I want to know what your metabolic profile looks like. When you enter, I will ask you what that looks like. I will get numbers from you. And then when you are near the end, we will measure again what your metabolic profile looks like. Because if your metabolism is humming along wonderfully, if you are fat burning, wonderful. If you are not, we have areas to improve. And ladies, you can't get that from the number on the scale, right? That's just one number, but it's not the most important metrics that I use inside Transform in 10, because we use more specific metrics that help us really move the needle for the things that matter most. So if you want to burn fat, balance your hormones, and ignite your energy, you can join Transform in 10. As I mentioned, we are getting started with our calls next week, and I'm so excited about that. And then I'm helping the ladies inside Epic You really transform their relationship with alcohol and designing a wonderful 2025. My friends, I'm right there with you. I want to make 2025 my best year yet. And so I am super excited to be on this process and in this journey with you. All right, my friend, we'll be talking about more epic stuff next week. I will see you then.